Bob Cobb for the Bassmaster. Welcome to Mercer.
It is Wednesday, April 21st. My name's Dave Mercer, and welcome to a show that goes by my very name. This is Mercer. Back to put a little more hump in your hump day, middle of the week, and having a little fun here on this show. We want to thank all of you for tuning in week after week, and I'm excited to let you know that I promised you one thing. I said, come along with us on this weird little ride. I can't tell you what it's going to be, but I'm going to work my butt off to make this a better show week after week, and all of a sudden, it's got a lot better. I mean, what have you always wanted? I mean, a more obnoxious Mercer, and we may have done it. The show officially has sounds, and who doesn't? I promise not to use that too much, but I mean, hey, that's my investment in you. We have sounds now. This week's show brought to you by the letter Z. All our guests go by the name of Z. But before we jump into this week's show, I gotta talk about this week's event. We have a huge event coming up on Lake Fork, and Lake Fork is always incredible. But right now, Lake Fork is bananas. That's right, it is literally going off. This week's event, the fifth stop of the Bassmaster Elite Series, is going to be absolutely insane. I mean, moments ago, I got a text from somebody that just caught a 12-1. It is going off. It is perfect timing. And those of you that know me know how important Lake Fork is to me. Without Lake Fork, I don't even have my dream job of working for Bass. I mean, that event that was founded on Lake Fork, I mean, the original TTBC, the whole reason that there is a catch, weigh, and release approach to fishing at all, that's what it was designed around. It was designed so that they wanted to have an event that celebrated the crown jewel of Texas Parks and Wildlife, which is Lake Fork. Because of the slot there was no way to have a pro event. So they designed catch, weigh, and release, and along the way, I got a job as an MC, and without that tournament and its incredible history, there's no way that Bass hires me. So, I mean, it's obviously a very, very special place to me. Not just a place to fish, but the people that have been going there for over a decade, 15, I don't even know how long I've been going there, but so many people that I just look forward to seeing every single year, and this is no bias to anything else, but because of my history there, outside of the Bassmaster Classic, there's literally no event I look forward to more. But unfortunately, I'm not going to be there this year. That's right. I'm not going to make the event this year. COVID has affected many of us in many different ways, and now it's taking away from me something that I dreamed of doing and something that I cherish every moment of. I'm in COVID protocol, and I can't travel this week. So many people have been affected by COVID in so many different ways. I get it. I mean, I consider myself lucky that this is all that it's affecting, but it sucks. I mean, for me, if those of you that know me personally know how important this event is, and you know how gutted I will be to sit on the sidelines when it is going to absolutely go off. I mean, it is going to be an insane week. There's people talking about records getting broken, records getting shattered, and I'm not gonna be there. Who will MC, you ask? I have no idea. You're going to have to tune into the event to check it out and see who they get to MC. But before the rumors start swirling, I'm not going to be there. I'll be at the next event. I am going to be working the event. Thank God. Due to technology and all the things that companies have had to overcome the last number of years, I'm still going to be part of live. You're still going to hear my voice on live. I'm still going to be working with Davey. I'm just not physically going to be there. And I'm gutted about it. It kills me not to be there because It's freaking bananas! Okay, no more of that. No more of that. So that's the big news, and it's news I hate to break to you, but this week's show is presented by the letter Z. All our guests have a name that begins with Z, and this next guy is going to be there. And although he's had an uncharacteristically tough season up to this point, he's been so close to the winning pattern so many times, but it just hasn't gone together for him. If there's an event that he can turn it around, big baits, big bass, you know who I'm talking about. Let's bring in our first guest, Chris Zaldain. Never mind the Zaldangerous one. Maybe it's officially Cowboy Chris Zaldain. What the hell are you wearing?
Dude, how about that, huh? That is a 50% beaver and 50%, I don't know if it's mink, or Trey could help me out here, but dude, I just spent the last 2.5 days filming with the city of Fort Worth, and dude, they took us on a tour, and we're going to take you guys on a tour. We did a YouTube video on it. It'll be on my channel, it'll be on Bassmaster's channel, it'll be on the city of Fort Worth channel. But from the boot making to the hat shaping, downtown Fort Worth has got it going on. It's open for business, and it shows with this brand new hat. Literally, this started out as a blank. And of course, I had to go with the, kind of that navy, or that green color there, that kind of military green. And they fitted this hat for me, and it says nothing but Fort Worth. And just like they say around here, it's the modern West. And I think that hat shows it. Kind of goes with the mustache too.
50% beaver and 100% awesome. If you ask.
Yeah.
Tell me what you did this week, because everybody thinks, this giant tournament going on Lake Fork. I'm not even fishing it, but I'm obsessed with how good this could be. So everybody would think that Chris Zaldain spent his week in the garage sharpening hooks,
not swim baits. Yeah, no, not at all. And as you know, we're between tournaments. We're between the Sabine River and Lake Fork, and the boy Bass kind of scheduled it. We have a week off, and for the guys, for your northern boys, for your Canadian guys, they're kind of in a pickle. Like, dude, do we go home for 2 days and then drive right back down, or do we hang out and stay on Sam Rayburn or Toledo Bend or one of those places? And a lot of guys did that. But fortunately for me, I live in Fort Worth here, so I was able to work with the city of Fort Worth here over the last couple of days leading up to Lake Fork, and do some work with them and film Dickey's Arena and film the Will Rogers Arena, where everything's going to go down in just 48 days from right now when we're filming here. So come middle of June, and I know you asked about Lake Fork Day, but I'm like, my mind is on Ray Roberts in June. So we got to do some of that stuff. That was really cool. But tomorrow's Sunday, Monday practice starts. And, so tomorrow I haven't even removed my, little tubes and my small little 1/8 ounce jigs that were used, and the little 1/4 ounce spinner baits from the Sabine River. I haven't even taken those out of my skeeter boat yet. So we're going to remove all that stuff, your black and blues, your straight up blues and real dark colors. We're going to remove all that stuff out of my boat and go to those natural watermelon reds, green pumpkins, and those big giant swim baits I like throwing on Lake Fork. So, and dude, it has been, I know, like I saw like Seth, like he posted a video. He got home just a couple days ago in between these events. It was like snowing in Minnesota. Yeah. And we had a bunch of precipitation here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Dude, it was like 40 degrees overnight. It felt like 55 to 60 degrees this week leading up to the Fork event. So what does that tell us in April? It means a delayed spawn, and not to mention that Arctic blast that those Canadians blew down to Texas here.
Whoa, why does it always get blamed on
easy.
Canada?
I know.
Easy. Nobody. First of all, I made it home before it hit, so
Yep.
it came from the south, but
Yeah.
still Canada takes the blame.
Totally. So, dude, we're still dealing with the remnants of that. I mean, we were talking and visiting with a lot of the businesses and things in Fort Worth, the Dallas-Fort Worth area. And of course, we suffered that Arctic blast in February. And these homes and these businesses and these buildings and infrastructure is not built the way you guys build them up north in Canada in the north. And we really suffered a heavy blow. And that really just kind of continued into March and April. So it's definitely been a lot cooler than normal. And you're going to see that at this April Lake Fork event, where normally it'll be mainly spawning and post-spawn. I think you're going to see a lot of pre-spawn and spawning going on at Lake Fork next week. And that tournament we saw where Patrick Walters won last year in, September, October, was a fall tournament where guys were using their electronics. They were suspended out over deeper water. It's going to be a complete 180 of that. There's going to be a lot of heavy hitting going on right on the bank, shallow. We're leading up to a full moon, et cetera, et cetera. But the gist of that story was that everything is kind of delayed. This current weather, a week before the event, has been super cool, rainy, cloudy. It has definitely held back those waves of spawners that we anticipate coming for Toyota Texas Fest.
That was the greatest answer ever, because I asked
Wasn't it awesome?
what you were doing this past week. I was literally just waiting to hear about the line dancing and everything. And we have traveled through the economic system of Dallas-Fort Worth and how houses are built.
Yes, we did.
So I'm not going to throw you any more softballs. I'm going to throw you a hard ball right now.
Oh, no, I'm afraid.
Don't be afraid, because this year has been uncharacteristic for you.
Dude,
and when you look from the outside, if you just look on paper,
yes,
you'd be like, wow, things are going really bad for you. But
exactly, yep.
Dude, 3 out of 4 events that I know of, 3 out of the 4 events we've had, you were literally on the winning pattern or the pattern that contested for it. So that has to be driving you crazy.
Yep. And Dave, we talked about this on stage at the last event. There is such a fine line between success and failure in this sport. And I remember like growing up and man, I've been at this and I've known you for 9 years now. This is my 9th season on the Elite Series trail. Just going into it, it's like, man, I remember talking to guys like Jeff Crete and Jared Lintner and some of those guys that had grown into it. And they just expressed how hard it was to stay on top and just how one little decision will lead you on this path to success, or one little bad decision will lead you on this path of failure downhill. And it is so true. Even 9 years into it, I'm still learning that whole concept. And this year especially, man, we got off to a really rough start. The St. John's River. But this most recent one, the Sabine River, I think I had like a 90th, an 80th, and a 60th place finish. Uncharacteristic for me. I've never been here, but again, I'm fishing like right next to first place, right next to second place, and I'm literally watching it and talking to the guy who's leading the tournament after 2 or 3 days. Happened with Gussie, happened with Brock Mosley last week, and it all boils down to, okay, who gets there first? And who's got the presentation to catch those fish in that area. Being where I'm from, out west, we have got a plethora of techniques to catch finicky fish or pressured fish. And I always felt like I had a leg up on a guy if I beat him in an area or if I'm sharing the same area with him. But that wasn't the case, especially with Gussie, our Canadian snow leopard friend, and over there on the Tennessee River.
That snow leopard.
My gosh, Dave, it was. But he's the nicest guy. Like
but you still want to shoot him.
He was in my crosshairs, no doubt. But I never took it off safety, and we found the exact same fish. I had a few bites in that canal, exact same canal. It literally had all the ingredients to win a tournament on smallmouth. And as a competitor, you can't go out and blast that on social media like, oh my God, you can win the tournament here. It's got current, it's got clear water, and it's got a little bit warmer water, and it's got the most abundant smallmouth habitat available, period. And of course, the snow leopard found it as well. So during that tournament, as I started there, I had a good boat draw. I started there and I started throwing my little swim bait that is like hands down catches them. But those water temperatures were like in the 40s. And I don't have a lot of experience, Dave, catching smallmouth in 40-degree Fahrenheit water temp. I don't know what you guys do at Celsius, but 40-degree Fahrenheit water temperatures. But this dude that pulled up, and he was like boat 90 something. This dude that pulled up in his aluminum boat, literally right next to me. Everything's cool. I'm cool with him. We pull up. Yeah, we both know they're there. Cool. And I've already had a dozen casts, and I think I caught maybe one short. But as soon as he arrives, same exact spot, same exact rock pile, same current breaks. He starts vertical fishing like he does back home up there, and just cracking these 3s and 4s smallmouth. I'm like, oh my goodness. So I had the area, did not have the technique. And that really sucks when you actually see it happening, unfolding in front of you. That irks you more than anything as a professional angler. Someone catching them in front of you. You know they're there. You had the bites in practice, but when it matters, when you're on the clock and someone else is doing the damage and you're not, you're just like, dude, you just feel you feel yourself moving down on the standings. And that's what happened there. That's what happened at the Sabine River last week as well, losing a battle with Brock Mosley. He was leading it for, I think, 2 days, ended up in second or third, making that long run out to through Galveston Bay into that Clear Creek area. And it was just a small canal. We've seen that canal before, play in the past, and it's a very small area. But if you were in that area first, you caught every single fish that was biting, and that was that, man. And again, we talk about that fine line: success, failure, tiny little line there. And Zaldain's been riding that little line all year long. So it's just how it goes. But it's all a part of the experience. You just log that as experience, and you just kind of play off of it going into the next one.
Does that bring you down, or do you feel like, man, my season is not what's on paper? My season's so different than most people would ever imagine.
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, it does bring you down, of course. But fortunately for me, I've got a few years under my belt, and man, I'll tell you what, Dave, if this was, my rookie season was 2012. You and I talked a lot on stage, 2012, 2013, 14, those first 3 years. If you come out of the gates with the finishes I've had and, your first 1, 2, 3 years on tour, dude, you get smoked. The fans don't look at you. The sponsors don't give you the attention. The cute girls, like when I was growing up, I got Trait's attention, the first couple years, and it's just nothing clicks. And so, yeah, fortunately, I've been around. I don't think I have quite veteran status yet. I'm somewhere stuck in between at 9 years of experience, but I kind of know what to expect. I kind of know how to rebound, but you literally have to take it one step at a time. I got some really good advice from our good buddy, Mike Iaconelli, one of the hardest workers. I would say, Mike Iaconelli, you, Zona, are some of the one of the top 3 or top 4 hardest workers in our industry, always getting after it in different ways. But as far as like spending time on the water, Mike Iaconelli is probably one of the hardest workers on tour. Even at his age, he's dusk till dawn, a million rods on his deck, has to retie a million rods going into, midnight at times. But he told me, he says it, he says it best is you fish through it. You're in a slump, fish through it. And the way I think, the way I interpret that is you take it one step at a time. You got yourself in this position, this slump, whatever you want to call it, one fish at a time. So you fish yourself out of it one fish at a time. So, and in my mind, Lake Fork is a big fish factory. I love catching big fish, and again, with this kind of delayed spawn around these parts, around the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I think it sets up to be one of those slugfest derbies that, a guy like me could really rebound from.
Why is fishing like that? When you look at other sports, I know you follow a lot of different sports, but when you look at golf and things like that, you'll see people but usually there's an answer.
Definite answer, right.
Dude's dealing with shoulder problems. He's got some personal problems. But in fishing, you take somebody who's totally happy. The same they were the year before, totally committed, working just as hard, but all of a sudden the tap turns off.
It's insane. It's because you're dealing with more variables. Golf, you got the golf club, you got the golf ball, you're dealing with weather a little bit, but you're not dealing with that variable of another living thing. I guess like I never got into like professional hunting, but I guess it's a thing, but you're dealing with a living thing, like a living deer or a living turkey or something. They can be predictable. They can be completely unpredictable. And that's what we're dealing with bass fishing. And the thing is like NASCAR too, like you see the guys in NASCAR, they deal with the same tracks year after year, but every week is different. The weather conditions are different. The track conditions are different. The hotter the track, the slicker the track, the colder the track, the faster the cars go, there's a little more grip. But we go to the same fisheries every year, and dude, no one year is the same. Even if you log all these weather conditions and how good the spawn was and the water level and the grass growth and things like that, those are just little clues that you could use for that week. It is never like on paper, it's going to be this way. This guy won in Raccoon Creek in 2019. So in 2020, 2021, it's going to be won in Raccoon Creek. It never happens that way, dude. And you know that. You've been around these and you fish around for so long. It's never happens that way. You're just dealing with so many variables. So to say a guy, and guys like Kevin throughout the years, how he dominated for so many years on so many different bodies of water. I mean, that is just absolutely amazing because he is so adaptive. He adapts so much, and the fisheries change, the years change, the fishing pressure changes, all of it changes. So for an angler to dominate year long or to come out of a slump, he really just has to take all those things into consideration and then make the best calculation to apply it that week or that day or that very next day or that next Thursday on Lake Fork. I'm in one of those positions where I take all the weather patterns we've had and all the history we've had on Lake Fork. And we apply all that to make the best, kind of assumption of how the fish are setting up and how it's going to go down and just kind of ride it throughout the week. And that's how fishing is like these days, man. I mean, a 4-day derby, you asked Jason Christie if he thought he was going to win after day 1 of the Sabine River. He probably would have said, I don't know, dude, I need a couple more days to think about it. And by day 3, I'm sure he was like, man, I might have a chance to win here. And that's how competitive bass fishing is nowadays. It's like the guy who wins really doesn't know it until day 2, day 3, as he builds upon that pattern or that area, and he just gets stronger and stronger and stronger. So it's been really cool, man. It's been really, really cool.
You mentioned Kevin, and you can replace the name with whoever you want. But at this point in your career, what he did and what he has done and continues to do, but really when you look at the first 25 years of his career, I mean, it's so unbelievable. Do you think you almost respect it more today than when you grew up? Because when you're a kid watching it, I mean, because for me, I totally think when I've seen so many others come that people said, this is the next Kevin. Right. Realize just how far removed it was. Like, it's not even close.
When you really think about it, and I did not have the privilege to fish against him in his prime. And I would say his prime is when I was a true bass fishing fan. It was about the time you came in, Dave, and I graduated high school like in 2002. So around that time, early 2000s through 2010, 11, I came on the scene in 2012. He was still killing it. I think he won 2 tournaments while I was fishing. But in those early 2000s to mid 2000s, he was absolutely on fire. And it was everywhere. It was a Tennessee River. It was good tournaments in Florida. It was any tournament up north. I remember him going to the California Delta, and I was just a fanboy watching him on my home body of water out in the California Delta. I'm like, this Michigan guy's not going to catch him here. He caught him there. I mean, it's like, it's unbelievable. So yes, it's almost like you do respect it even more for a guy in my position, knowing what I know now and how difficult it is to dominate like that, especially during that time period. I mean, I almost respect it more. I really do. And then fast forward a decade or two, I mean, 2 decades now, we're here in the 2020s. It's like, there's just so much information available now. Pretty much every spot, every technique, every pattern that Kevin has ever used to win a tournament is blasted all over the internet.
Yeah.
And 2 clicks away from learning that exact same thing. So he definitely pioneered that whole pattern fishing, running and gunning thing, that whole thing. Now I feel like everyone's just trying to imitate that in different ways, but and it's just it's so weird. The game's so weird now. As you know, content is king, and everyone is trying to put out content and spill the goods and put it all out there to teach and to, for fellow anglers to learn. But you gotta, where's the line? Like, where do you peel it back to where, oh my gosh, I don't want my competitors to know that. But all in all, I think, since what Kevin has done and really laid the groundwork for just like kicking bass ass, really. And now just like every hot stick, every young guy wants to do that in their own way. So it's interesting. It really is.
I have 2 last questions for you.
We have time already. We only have 2 left.
Yeah, that's it. I mean,
Okay.
I figure it's better that way, just little short bits, and then you'll come back again. If I spend too much time with you, you'll get pissed and never come back again.
Sounds good.
No, first question, was there line dancing? And second question, will you show me a move before we're done?
Yes, there was line dancing today. We did a nice tour of the city of Fort Worth and Billy Bob's, Texas. It's the world's largest honky tonk. I had to Google honky tonk. I mean, I've heard it in country songs before, but it's just a bar concert area, and it's a huge concert area. And I made the comment today. It's if you can name 10 different country singers, I'll guarantee you at least 9 of them has performed at Billy Bob's in Texas. So if you guys are attending the Bassmaster Classic, or if you're thinking about it, book now. And Billy Bob's is just one of the call them amenities or things to do while we're waiting, or while you're waiting to to watch the weigh-in, watch us weigh in those big fish. But Billy Bob's in Texas, it's a concert at night, a kind of adult entertainment at night. And at midday, noon, today at noon, Saturday at noon, there was teenagers around, kids around, families around, and we were all learning how to line dance. And what'd
that look like?
Oh, it was terrible, dude. It was terrible. No, it was like a half a step right, half a step left, kind of little boot kick, and then 3 steps forward, boot kick, and then you got to do the same thing in reverse. I crumbled. I fell apart after about the third go around, and Trey and I were laughing, and Johnny, our camera guy, was laughing, and we recorded it all. It was good. And line dancing's not my thing, dude. But for the fishing fans of Fort Worth and all the visitors, that's something you can do with the family. It's a good time. You sit there and rag on each other. It's a really good time.
Zaldain, do me a favor. Go win Lake Fork.
Okay, will do. And you do get a classic berth from Lake Fork, don't you, this year? Right?
I don't know. So. Do you?
I don't know if we're doing that. Normally we do, don't we?
Well, normally it's Texas Fest.
Normally, so what are we calling it this year?
But now it's just a regular elite. It's a Lake Fork elite. So I don't know. I mean, you'd think between the two of us, one of us would know, but
I'm going to have to try to win it anyways. Classic berth or not, I'm going to have to try to win it anyways. It'll be a good one.
It will be. Thank you very much.
Cool. I appreciate it, Dave. Thanks, guys. See you.
How awesome is Chris Zaldain? An awesome guest, an awesome friend, and evidently not an awesome line dancer. So I'll be interested to see that. And I don't know, you let me know in the comments if he answered any of my questions. I mean, I think he just took them in whatever direction he wanted, but that's fine. That's what this show's all about. I mean, we're not going to give you the hard-pressing questions. We're just here. I mean, it's the middle of the freaking week, right? I mean, stuff's gone right, stuff's gone wrong. People just need a little fun. But the problem is, how do you top Zaldain when you've got a show presented by the letter Z? Well, there's only one direction to go, and that is the Z. The Z Train, my brother from another mother, Mark Zona. Z, I appreciate you doing this. What are you? You're from the Northern Bassmaster Studios. Is that where we're communicating?
Dave, that's exactly where we're at right now. We're cranking up for a big, quote unquote, big weekend at the Bassmaster Elite Series at Lake Fork. Every time we go there, but this one could get magical, is what the word on the street is.
How realistic? I mean, I've heard some guys say that there's a chance that record could go down. How realistic? I mean, is that?
Man, first off, what's the record for 4 days? What is
132 pounds, 8 ounces.
Okay. Number one, and you know this, you have to have the combination of the correct lake with magical timing. Yeah, you want to say, I mean, look, it's going to take over 100 pounds for the simple fact that lake and a lot of the other lakes in Texas have been they've been knocked back by cold fronts that have come in, which is setting up very well for the way the weather looks coming in to the end of this week. The only thing that, a lot of the places that we've gone, Dave, heck, man, you know this, where you see those wicked, crazy monster bags, it's a combination of timing. And the other side of it is Lake Fork is a different monster this time of year because the world is bass fishing there.
Yeah.
which affects that. So look, it's going to be it'll be a massive beatdown. I think it'll also be one of those very top heavy tournaments that we see in Texas a lot. But sure, hell, why not? Let's break the record this week. It'd be fun.
Okay, speaking of breaking records, a big story last time we were there, obviously, a big story from all last year. And I want your take on it. Everybody talks about a forward-facing sonar. Is it too much?
No, absolutely. Here's why I say that do I understand a lot of the old school mentality and thinking? Absolutely. I totally get that. I totally understand that. But at the same time, you never want to stop. The progression of technology. I believe that. Look, I also have the right to not use it. You know what I mean? Do I?
But do you really? Like,
hell, I want it.
Yeah.
Look, Dave, I fished with you. If anything could benefit you and I catching one more bass, strap that thing on. Let's go. But the other side of that is professional fishermen are the cutting edge. I hate to call them, they're the test pilots of products, from hooks to lures to rods to reels to motors to electronics. And I mean, I hate to say this, man, I want to see what's next. Like, I want to see what's next. Is forward-facing sonars going to change the industry? Already has, no doubt about it. It's changed the industry from the way guys approach tournaments, especially on certain lakes where it really shines. But it also opens our eyes from calling an event that James Caldemeyer, who's a big time guy on Fork. I talked to James before the tournament that Patrick Walters destroyed last year. And he said, hey, it's going to take this or this or this or this or this to win this tournament. And we were hanging up and he said, but if somebody could figure out how to catch those bass that are suspended out in that outer timber, they will absolutely blow this away. I'll never forget him saying that, because every time that I've talked to Combs, he's like, I really believe the massive majority of the population of bass that are in Lake Fork and a lot of those East Texas lakes, I believe the massive amount of pressure pushes a huge population of bass offshore that suspend, that never come shallow. Patrick Walters did that. Do I think it's going to play that this time around that much? I don't. I think it's going to play a little bit, but no, I don't. I still think Mother Nature, I've always said this, Dave. I've told, way back when you and I shot umbrella rig shows and people were going to, you're ruining fishing TV. is Mother Nature, no matter what, no matter technology, no matter an umbrella rig, Mother Nature in some way, shape, or form always protects her baby. And I think it will absolutely apply in this too.
Z, I've made a bunch of jokes about how evil it is that our anglers are going from the Sabine River
that was a great transition
to Lake Fork. They're going to have to adjust. How do you adjust? And do you really, after doing this for as many years? Because I know I get more excited coming into an event like this that really could set up to be special, and whether it plays out or not. Does it change in your mind, or are you just like read the words?
Well, hey, man, pull the curtain back. You know how I am before a tough Bassmaster Live. I'm pouty, moody, whining. But here's what's really weird about, I said this on the broadcast. I always remember the tougher events way more. You do too, because we talk about it.
Yeah.
I always remember those tough events way more than the beatdowns. But what was really strange was last week, going into Championship Sunday, I was more fired up to come into the studio and cover that final day because of the storylines that were going on. I mean, one of them, the dude that won's a close friend of mine. But the other side of it is, to me, that tournament was way more strategic. I heard you when you and Davey, when you were doing Dave and Davey segment, talk about this, that there's way more game planning and strategy in a tournament like that, and there was in this event. I thought that part of it, I thought about when Hackney won there, a few years ago. Even though it was a brutal, painful grinder, at the end of it, you're like, damn, dude earned it. Dude really, really earned it. And here's why I say that, Dave. And you can't bring this across on Bassmaster Live, but you get to feel exactly what I'm going to say behind the stage. Christie, he was a nervous wreck from day Wednesday through the entire event of gas consumption and is there another angler? Oh, and hey, by the way, now my spot just rose. And that's what made that special. But then and don't get me wrong, you also to make that transition to Lake Fork. Now we have a home run derby. Everybody loves home run derbies. Each are really, to me, very special in their own way because it's all relative. Somebody's going to hold that blue trophy at the end of the week, and it'll always, it's still a show, and it was a big show at Sabine.
It really was. And I think that every event it has to be different. You know what I mean? That's what makes it. I mean, thank God they are, else they wouldn't need guys like us to talk about crap.
I mean, do I like 3 to 6 football games? No. but hey, every now and then, I guess I do. So anyway.
Yeah. Okay. This is a very important question. This is the only question I really want an answer. Z, am I the greatest regular season fantasy football stud, yet the number one playoff dud you've ever met?
Listen, for somebody that's watching this, you say to yourself, well, I don't give a heck about, I don't care about fantasy football. But we do. Mm-hmm. I mean, we do.
Exactly.
We call professional bass fishing tournaments, and outside of that, our career truly is fantasy football. I have never in my life seen, listen, my kids talk about it. It's almost become folklore that you will put on a display throughout the season to where you're like, kid is unstoppable. The kid is unstoppable. And but it's turned into, don't worry, when the playoffs get here, it is. And Dave, I have to ask you a question back. You played fantasy football now for a decade, and it is a very addicting thing. I think you've won 90% of every season you've played, and I need to know, how many playoff wins do you have? You're starting to sweat. You're starting to sweat.
I am. I'm sweating. I haven't won. Okay, I haven't won in the playoffs, and I mean, whatever. But the problem is your teams, they friggin' mess with your mind. They make you believe. Like this year, I was like, okay, it's happened before, but look at the holes I filled here. You know what I mean? Like you make mistakes, and you're like, okay, next time I'm gonna draft a QB sooner. You know what I mean? Like everybody's got their approach.
It up. You shake it up.
So you're like, hey, I'm gonna fix the problems from last year, and you fix that. But I've come to the conclusion that my problem is the playoffs. I mean, I cannot win in the playoffs.
And the other side of it is because it's mentally exhausting because the whole season you're like, and then you get to look, man, it's game time, and it's just a devastating. The only way I could put it, it's like, and it's become in my house, it's become like a bad accident that you can't take your eyes off when you get to the playoffs. And my children take great pride. Hell, they haven't made the playoffs in like 7 years because they're at college doing college stuff.
What exactly is that?
Right, exactly. Listen, I had no idea when I said goodbye to them several years ago that I literally would never see them. But look, man, look, you're a Chiefs fan. It can change.
Yes, it can change. It can change. It can. I hold on to that. Speaking of the little Z's, how long till they join the Elite Series?
They are not. They are graduating.
Why?
They're graduating from college with a bachelor's, and we are pushing that they go on for their master's, and that is exactly where the Scorpion is aiming them right now. That's where they're going. So, and what's weird is I've asked both of them, is that something, that you want to pursue? And I don't think it's for them, Dave. I really don't.
Wait till they try real work.
Right, yeah, duh. They'll be bass fishing within a week. It's weird because this. You have to be really wired a certain way to be a professional bass fisherman. It almost has to, and not almost, it has to consume every second of every day. And as much as I think they love bass fishing and that they've had success in a lot of tournaments, I think they love fishing. I don't know that they love tournament fishing.
Very few people have had the opportunity to see everything you've seen. You know what I mean? From every competitor out there. What is the number one characteristic it takes to if you said, hey man, I want to be an Elite Series pro, what is the characteristic that stands out to you that they all seem to have? Or is there one?
Yeah. One throughout covering a lot of the guys that we've covered together, whether they're still at Bassmaster or not, there's a lot of flatliners. Like really, they come across as they're not aggressive, but they're very aggressive. You can look at a guy like, I'll go back to Jason Christie. You look at a dude like that, he is there for one reason. He is there to make you cry, and he is there to hold a trophy. And the other thing, and I actually talked about this with somebody last week, is when I first started covering Bassmaster Elite Series tournaments, a lot of the guys that I was covering, they were heroes of mine growing up. And then when you're around them in a work environment, in a competitive environment, you're like, ooh, I don't know if I really like that human being.
Do you want to give me some names?
I will tell you somebody that I really struggled with. Yeah, here we go. This is perfect. Somebody that I really struggled with the first, 15 years of my career, and it was Denny. When Denny was at a tournament, when he was at a tournament, he was there to win tournaments. I can absolutely throw Edwin Evers' name in there. And what's funny is they're so they're so competitive. It comes across as an event. Well, maybe they're just not. It's not that they're not a nice person. There is a laser focus to block out the rest of the world and destroy you and make you cry. And then at the end of it, go home and be like, doggone it, that was fun, wasn't it, buddy? That was fun stuff right there. Me just beating you down. And look, Dave, we've talked about this on Bassmaster Live a lot. It's almost like to see a guy like Bill Lowen, a nice guy, a nice dude, win a tournament. What we've seen a lot of times, if you're a nice guy, if you're a Gussie or a Bill Lowen, you don't win as many tournaments. If you're self-isolated like this, laser focused, a loner tends to win a lot of tournaments, I notice. And again, it's not that those guys are bad or they're bad on the water, but they're so, this isn't even a word, but they're so isolated and focused upon, like, it's weird throughout the years. The one person I could say that defied that was Aaron, because Aaron was happy. He's happy-go-lucky and won a heck of amount of bass tournaments. But for the most part, snipers and assassins win fishing tournaments.
Could you imagine really, I've thought about this. If you put like just a little bit of each. In that, but if Aaron just had a tiny bit more of that killer instinct, I mean, it would be incredible. All right.
But that's what made, what's strange is that's what made Aaron very special, because I always bring this one tournament up that we were at Clark's Hill and everybody was sight fishing. The entire tournament was sight fishing. And I was with you. I think I was with you. We were in a boat and you see Aaron 37 miles offshore crushing them. And you're like, that's what makes that dude that dude. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's been fun to watch. Yeah.
He sees things different than anybody, and it's amazing, and not just on the water, but off the water. Like, he really, the world needs more Aarons. You know what I mean? Just because he is the guy that I feel like my life is a constant blur of just never having enough time for anyone or anything. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm always ending conversations with people not because I don't want to, but Aaron is a dude who, he sees you and you feel like, I'm the only thing that matters right now. Well, let's just talk. I mean, he's a special person.
Yes. I talked to you right after I taped with him. I taped with him a month ago down on Pickwick. And it's weird. Like every time I've been lucky enough to fish with him, hang out with him, you kind of leave that little time span together. And I said this on the show. I said, Aaron he's made me a better person. A lot of times you look at yourself and you're like, I need to change this, change this, change this. When you're around Aaron and you leave and a lot of times you leave and you decompress because all you both done is talk, is that Aaron's just a darn good human being. And I look up to that. I look up to his fishing skills a lot, obviously, but I look up to the man that he is. I remember, I'm going long-winded. Somebody said to me once, it was the very first time I taped with Aaron. They're like, why did you tape with him? I couldn't see him talking about too much in the boat. I said, no, he never stopped. And you know the story. You know how you change. You change your little battery in your microphone halfway through the day. And Wes Miller, who's been a Bassmaster and a Zona cameraman for 96 years, we were on Lake Ontario, and Aaron was talking a lot. And Aaron goes along, and Wes said, "Hey Z, I got to change the battery in your microphone." I said, "Oh, okay." And Aaron goes, "Do you need to change mine?" He goes, "No, yours has been dead for like 2.5 hours." And here's the thing: it was so true. Sorry, stupid story.
Speaking of angling skills, it's one of the things that I think some people probably look at you and don't understand. Dude, I mean, no joke. I mean, an idiot like me would have ended up. If I had made the Elite Series, I would have dequalified as soon as I made it. I'll be honest. I'm just good at yelling crap. But dude,
you're fun to fish with.
Yes, yeah, that's because I suck. People that suck are fun to fish with. But Z, you don't suck. You had an incredible tournament career, and similar to somebody that's doing something right now. Brock Mosley has a bunch of seconds, but his roommates are calling him Deuce now. You were the original Deuce. You were Z2. Your wife actually bought you a license plate. I don't know if you want to talk about that, but can you give Brock Mosley some advice, or did you just quit and become a famous announcer?
You know what's really bizarre about that. So I took somebody's. Ray Hanselman won 4 ever starts in 1 year.
Yeah.
And some people have called that the greatest accomplishment in tournament fishing. I've heard that said. I had 4 seconds in 1 year, which is the most pathetic record you could actually have. But here's the one thing that I would say to Brock is as hard as this is to hear, I can look, you know this, and all of your viewers that watch this, whether you fish a Tuesday night or a weekend tournament or a national tournament, the ever starts are now what the, I'm not even sure what, it's had like 37 different names, that circuit. But I look back at those tournaments now, just like we all do. We assess a tournament, we drive home, we're like, oh, doggone it, if I would have done this or this or this. I can look at every one of those tournaments now and say, if I would have done this, I would have won, or if I would have. But there are certain things I know in my mind now that would have changed the course of those events looking back on them. And I know Brock will do that. Brock will say to himself, gosh, if I would have done this or this or this or this. But the thing is, after I fish in AAA tournaments, after I had a nice run, the last tournament I fished was the Bassmaster Open on Champlain, and I was second or third. Yeah, right. Good stuff there. Is after covering the Elite Series, and I've made this exact statement to you, I would never want to go back and fish a tournament. I would never want to do that, just because we're around it. We're around it so much. The other side is, and I'm not saying, a lot of the anglers have told me very, very the most apex information of lakes that we go to that you're not going to get. You're not going to get it on Bassmaster Live. You're not going to get it from them ever. And I would think throughout 20 years of covering these guys and the information that they've given me, it would be very tasteless to be like, wow, I got a lot of good areas and I know and not even saying that I could execute on that, but I think it would be shoddy. It would be to do something like that. The other thing is 10 years from now, when the kids are married, one of them is getting married next spring.
Oh, what?
That's a joke. That's a total joke. You got to have a girlfriend to get married, my friend. Is 10 years from now, would I like to maybe Karen and I drive around and fish a big tournament or two? Maybe, but not till I'm way, way, way out of this career that we're in together.
Is that a new sweater? See?
I actually put it on. I tried to match my hat.
I think it's got I think I just noticed a tag.
Oh my gosh, it does have a tag on it. That's horrible. Hey, listen.
I appreciate you coming in prepped. I mean, you're not going to put a old sweater on for me.
I was trying to look good for you. I was trying to raise the class of this podcast. I was trying to bring it up. And see, I destroyed it right near the end of this thing. But you know what's funny is and I do mean this is, after fishing tournaments, you always say this: it's not work if you love what you're doing. And what I've been able to do with you and Davey and Tommy and Mike McInnes and the whole jam group, Ronnie Such, everybody. dude, it's been I've always said that our job is the best job on planet Earth and the worst job to get to. Like the travel part sucks, but it's still worth it. It's still like the memories that I'll have of covering the Bassmaster Elite Series and doing fishing shows, whether it's been Facts of Fishing or Zona show or whatever it is. It's been a hell of a ride, man. It's been whether it stops, if the carnival ride stops tomorrow or it's whenever it does, it has been fortunate because I always say this. I to this day, I do not take it for granted. I know you don't.
Your work ethic is amazing, really. And, you know, I know you play it off as like, oh, I'm just having fun and everything. But you really may be the busiest dude in the industry. But one of the things that really impressed me, talk to me about, because I don't think Bassmaster fans understand what a Mark Zona interview is like. Like, because I see the other side. At events where anglers are like, man, Z will not leave me alone. He wants to know exactly what this bait is. Like, you take those pre-interviews are almost like inquisitions.
And some of them have gone great and some go drastically bad and affect a relationship for decades.
All right.
The whole thing about it, you know, when we gather information is to, number one, paint a story of what's going on. But number two, tell that angler's story. Okay. And look, it's always been an elephant in the room of bass fishing is anglers that use baits that they're not sponsored by. That's fine. It's always happened. It's always going to happen. And we'll just stay generic. He's just throwing a suspended jerkbait instead of naming it. He's throwing a deep diving crankbait. And if it fits his sponsor alignment, I'll scream it to high heavens if it, you know, what it is. We just had that happen with Christy last week. But what's funny is some anglers, I don't want to call it an interrogation, but I like to have fun with the interviews. But look, if you're going to play hardball with me, I'm going to play hardball with you. There was one angler that, you knew this, whenever I would interview him, it would become hostile, to say the least. It would become hostile. So I would lead with, when I realized that I was getting under his skin, I would lead with, could you give me the waypoints where you're starting tomorrow? Which would instantly set it off in a bad tone. But the other side of those, and I've learned how, because we deal with a lot of rookies now. We deal with a lot of anglers that have not had the camera time that others in the past have, is I lead with, what do you feel cool telling me that's honest? I said, don't paint a picture that's not going on, because we're all going to see it. Every viewer's going to see it.
Yeah.
If you BS us, we're going to know. The way I tend to handle it now is help steer them down the road of really what's going on. But more than what's going on, where do you think it's going throughout the tournament? And I think that those, look, we all want to know what color, what size, what pound line, what rod and reel. And that is absolutely what Bassmaster's founded on, is information to catch more fish. Big bass, big stage, big dreams. Indeed. But the other side is really telling those stories of what happened in practice. What do you think it's going to transpire into? But you're right, Dave. Some of the interviews have gone right and some have gone drastically wrong. Yeah.
Well, I think this one's gone right. But before we're done, I want to just have a little fun with you, play a name game. I'm going to give you some names. You can give me one-word answers or take as long as you want. That's the beauty of this platform. So I did have an angler. Sorry. Yes, please. No, give it.
I did have an angler. I did have one. I called him and he went, I don't want to talk to you. Later. Those have been some of the more interesting ones.
Who was it?
Throughout the years, but I won't do that. I will not do that. I cannot do that. Let's just say it wouldn't be a surprise.
All right.
Okay.
We'll leave it at that. Okay, name game. Brian New.
For real. Is that, am I supposed to say one word?
Well, whatever you want. Whatever you want.
Brian New is rough. He's rough. I remember when I first met Brian Thrift, his best buddy. I'm like, dude's rough. Can catch him. Brian New is exactly that. He's he was a breath of fresh air the very first time I talked to him, and we talked about it a ton on Bassmaster Live. I said, "What are you here to do?" He's like, "What do you mean?" I said, "What's your goal?" He's like, "AOY and win the Classic this year." I'm like, "Shoot for the stars." You know what I mean? Nail it, shooter. But he is absolutely for real. And I do think after, he's the kind of guy, a lot like Brian Thrift, when he gets one or two looks at a lake, because I know a lot of the bodies of water are very new to him. I think that's when you're 2 or 3 years from now, we'll be saying his name a heck of a lot more than we are right now.
Greg Hackney.
Pent up energy right now. Pent up energy. Greg is here to do something. Greg's back for what Greg's biggest nemesis, and he told me that he hated the Bassmaster Classic because it always eluded him. And I've had fun with him about the Classic, and he's here for that reason. I know he is. He said, "Man, there's just too much attention brought to the Classic." I said, "That's why it's the Classic, Greg." But he's the only angler in the history of the sport to have potential to win that full circle of FLW Angler of the Year, Bassmaster Angler of the Year, FLW Forest Wood Champion. He needs to win the Bassmaster Classic. He does. I believe that.
Brent Brenneller.
A nice guy that has won in the world of tournament. Brent Brenneller is absolutely one of the best offshore fishermen I have ever been in the boat with, and we've been able to shoot a lot of shows. And what's really weird is he has a very Aaron Martens on the water and off the water. Here's what I could say about Ayler is there, and you know this, Dave, whenever you're a competitor and you're a winner, you'll hear somebody pop off and say something about that person.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It goes with the game that we're in. Brent Ayler's one of the people that you do not hear a bad thing about. I have a lot of respect for that.
Seth Feider.
That is a hot mess. That is a hot mess. Seth is a walking mess, but in a good way. And really one of the things that I think has been most impressive about Seth, he has a little bit of an Iconelli, a little bit of a Kevin Van Dam thing, because he is now competing at the highest level where you're seeing a lot more consistency with Seth. Look, if you really look at Minnesota guys, Michigan guys, New Jersey guys, you can throw New York guys in there too. Canada, one of the hardest things for those anglers to do is be consistent on southern waters, and you're seeing that with Seth. And I really believe you will see Seth in the next 24 months hold a major title in the sport. I really believe that, because here's what Seth does not have anymore: train wrecks for events. In some way, shape, or form, he knows not to be in 75th place, and he knows how to save. Look, having a good tournament's great. It's not having a disastrous 80th, 90th place finish. Seth seems to know how to do that now.
Let's talk about the only Canadian not to win an Elite Series event, Corey Johnston.
Boy, he's a hot mess too. He is really a hot mess. And I hate to say it. Corey tells me all the time how much better he is at bass fishing than Chris Johnston. Johnston. And I'm like, bro, the numbers don't lie. No, you're not. You have. But I will tell you something. Watching him on the water, and I went to I came to the St. Lawrence River tournament, and I wanted to watch him smallmouth. Look, it's obvious he's great at largemouth fishing. Whenever we're on grass lakes, tends to do very well. Lakes surround your house. I think this is hard for me to say, and I feel bad dissing Gussie and Chris. I think when it's all said and done, Corey's going to hold more trophies.
Well,
it's hard to go there for me.
I mean, yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Zachers.
Zach's got a little problem right now. Zach is getting up there long in the tooth, as you say.
Okay.
Zachers. I love them. Zach has attacked no less than 30 people in the last week. Most recently, my cameraman, Brian Evie.
I saw that.
And my father last night. So
Your father?
Yes. Yeah. Dad went to pet him, and no, he wasn't buying into that, Jack. You know what I mean? It's Zach's he's a damn good boy, and he knows tricks. And he takes a lot of naps, Dave. That's what he's doing right now. He's getting ready for another aggressive evening. Yeah.
Speaking of naps and tricks, Tommy Sanders.
Tommy has taught me more in 20 years than anybody has taught me in a career in my entire life. Tommy is, you know what's strange, and you know this. Tommy is the perfect professional at what he does. But when the switch is turned off, Tommy's a train wreck.
It's my favorite Tommy.
I know, absolutely. And like that is the one thing that I've noticed with really, really professional, successful people in their field. When they get outside of their field, you're like, man, you are a disaster. And Tommy is absolutely that. But really, what are the things that I've appreciated with Tommy is him letting us complete circus clowns drag him down to our level. Why don't you come down to our level for a little bit? But it's really, when I first started commentating tournaments, I would purposely poke him like little things during commercial break, and he would be like, "Hey, Mark," that's what he would call me. "Hey, Mark, don't do that again, okay? How's that sound?" I'm like, "Yeah, we'll do, champ." so it was, but throughout all the 9 million tournaments we've covered, the one thing that's been consistently awesome has been Tommy Sam, no doubt.
Kevin Van Dam.
He's the best. Still is the best. You wanna think that there's another Tom Brady Super Bowl somewhere in there. I'd like to see him at the Bassmaster class. What? Wait. What? I don't know what I'd say.
Who wouldn't?
Sometimes. Like to see him at the Elite Series one time.
Who wouldn't?
The other side of Kevin. The other side of Kevin is he's a good dude. He's a great dude. He's an older brother to me. And I always look at him. I'm like, he's still going 150 miles an hour, bro. What are you doing? Sit back and have a Coca-Cola. You know what I mean? My question is, and I ask him this probably the point where he wants to punch me in the face is, how much more are you gonna do this for? When is Kevin Van Dam outdoor television, circus going to start in the next few years? So he's probably got a little more left in the tank, though. I don't think Kevin Van Dam's final tournament career chapter is done yet. I don't think so. Yeah.
Jerry McInnes.
Miss Jerry. I was talking about Jerry the other day. I used to, and this is a selfish thing. I remember Jerry walking through the studio and he'd light me up a little bit. And I was like, wow, I'm getting yelled at by Jerry. That's so, it's so cool. But really, one of the things that I always respected about Jerry, and with it comes a lot of arrows. Jerry wanted to change bass fishing always for the better. And I saw the time and work that Jerry put into it. And I'll always have a massive amount of respect for that, because I knew how big Jerry always wanted bass fishing to be. He always wanted bass fishing to be the biggest sport in the world. And we need people. We needed people like that. We still need people like that. Mike McInnes is still one of the catalysts. Bowman, guys like that, for the right way, for the right reasons, for bass fishing to be the biggest sport. And look, everybody wants, you always hear this, we're going to do this to make it the biggest thing ever, the biggest thing ever. Whether it's right or wrong, or works or fails, I always give those people some amount of credit and respect for trying that. I really do. I really do.
All right, last one. Mark Zona.
The biggest hot mess. Dave, that's a very convoluted. You're around me. You've been around me a lot. I'm a loner. I go to bed at 7:30. I wake up at 5 every single day. Work hard, play harder. Is that fair?
I would say that's fair. That's fair.
Dave, you're very similar.
We have a good time and we have a great job, but I want to thank you for doing this. Z, you really are the best, and go Lake Fork.
Yeah.
It's going to be a fun one.
I look forward to seeing you there, my friend.
I'll see you somewhere down the road at a Ruby Tuesdays.
It's my go-to. I'm consistent. I love you, Dave. Thank you.
Love you too, brother.
Thank you.
How about Zona? I mean, that dude is absolutely phenomenal. I want to thank Z and Zaldane for taking the time out of their week. And I want to thank all of you for taking time out of your week to watch this crappy little show. All I ask is that you help us grow. And how you do that is simply just by, if you listen to us on the streaming services, thanks. Give us a review, give us a like, give us however that works. And also on YouTube. I mean, in real life, I want to know your personality, but the YouTube algorithm, they don't give a crap about my personality. I mean, they just like likes, and they're free. So hit that little thumbs up button, hit the notification, give us some subs. We're going to turn this show into something special together. I can't promise it'll be good, but I can promise we'll work our butts off giving you a show week after week. And it'll be our show. And we have sounds now, so... Thank you for tuning in this week to Mercer, an absolutely substandard show that comes to you week after week, putting hump in your hump day. Thank you, humpers. Go out there. There's a lot of crap in the world. There's a lot of negativity. Go out there, spread some positivity, enjoy being, and we'll see you next week.
Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe, because Bob Cobb of the Bassmasters told you to. You hear?